I'm Jacob, 28. I've learned that sometimes silence speaks louder than words. I was never the outspoken one in my family. That was my sister, Ashley. She's 2 years younger, but everyone treated her like the elder sibling. Growing up, she was the golden child. Ashley could spill juice and be praised for her creativity while I'd get yelled at for breathing too loudly. My mom doted on her, and my dad, mostly quiet, was implicitly okay with it. I once thought this was normal. Some kids got attention, others got leftovers. I pretended it didn't bother me, though maybe it did. It wasn't always bad.
There
Were moments like birthdays or movie nights where things felt normal. Ashley wasn't a self-centered hurricane, and my mom wasn't fueling her behavior. But these moments faded as we grew up. Ashley quickly learned that pushing hard enough made the world bend for her, and my mom always held it steady while Ashley walked all over it. I was always the too sensitive one, or taking things the wrong way. Every insult was dismissed as a joke. Eventually, I stopped reacting. My defense became calm, quiet distance. By my 20s, I'd built a life separate. From theirs, I had my own place, my own friends, and a digital marketing agency that was finally gaining traction. I wasn't flashy. I just put in the work, something Ashley rarely had to do. She drifted from job to job, chasing and abandoning dreams because Mom was always there to fix her messes. And Ashley met Ethan, her fiancé. I hoped things might change. He was grounded, polite, almost like he belonged to a different family. I genuinely liked him. He made Ashley tolerable, if not better. So, when they got engaged and wedding planning began, I prepared for drama. I just didn't expect to be at its core. It began subtly, with a text message that felt like an afterthought. Hey, wedding's on June 17th. Try not to wear anything weird. That was it. No invitation, no excitement, just a warning not to embarrass her. I stared at the text, then set my phone aside. I didn't reply, not out of anger, but because it was typical Ashley. A week later, my mom called, her voice sharp. Did you see Ashley's message? She said you didn't reply. I told her I saw it and didn't feel it needed a response. Always act like everything's a personal attack, she sighed. Just be happy for your sister. Hey, it's her big moment. Always her moment. I kept my voice even, agreeing to be there, promising to wear a plain suit and stay out of the way. Mom didn't thank me, only said, "Good, don't make it about you." A few days later, Ashley called. I thought she might discuss the ceremony, or ask for help, or just connect like siblings. Instead, she immediately launched into it. I talked to the photographer, she announced. We're doing all white, super clean aesthetics, very elegant, no loud colors, no distractions. People, by the way. I asked what she meant. She paused, then said, I mean like your beard. Can you trim it? And maybe don't stand too close in the family shots? It'll just ruin the photos. She said it so casually, like I was an inconvenient prop. A long silence followed on my end. I had no words. She must have interpreted it as agreement. Cool, she said before hanging up. I sat on my couch, phone in hand, staring out the window. People like Ashley push endlessly because they've never heard no, never realizing when. They've crossed a line, and Mom would always defend her. 2 days later, Mom called again. I know Ashley called you, she said. And I think maybe you should just let her have her moment. If your presence stresses her out, perhaps it's best you sit this one out. I said nothing. It wasn't shock. I'd already expected it, but it still hurt. You understand, right? She pressed. Just this once, I nodded, though she couldn't. See me? Sure, I said. Just this once. After hanging up, I didn't cry or rage. I just sat utterly still for what felt like an hour. My chest felt hollow. It wasn't about the wedding invite. It was about not even being worth a lie. Not even a weak excuse. They wanted me gone, and they didn't even try to soften the blow. I was a blemish on Ashley's big day, a smudge on her perfect photo op. 3 weeks went by without a word, not from Ashley, Mom, or even Ethan, who I assumed had been pressured into compliance. I dove into work, landing 3 new clients, achieving a record monthly revenue, and moving to a larger office. Still, nothing from them. It was as if I'd vanished until a notification popped up. A forwarded email from a mutual friend of Ethan's. In mine, it was a thank you note from the wedding venue. They just finalized the deposit for a grand ceremony at a beautiful estate outside. The city, a place Ashley had dreamed of since she was 16, a fairy tale castle from her Pinterest boards. It was incredibly expensive, far beyond her means. I figured Mom must have pulled some strings, or maybe Ethan's family contributed. But a closer look at the email revealed something significant. The reservation was in Ashley's name, but the contact person was someone I knew, someone who owed me a favor. That's when an idea, quiet and subtle, began to grow. Not out of spite, at least not initially. But the more I considered it, the more logical it seemed. They didn't want me at the wedding. It's fine. But that didn't mean I wouldn't be involved. Whether they knew it or not, I didn't act immediately. The idea lingered in my mind as I stuck to my routine. Work, gym, dinner, sleep. But something inside me had shifted. A persistent tension in my chest suggested something was coming. I replayed Mom's dismissive voice. Let her have her moment. She'd spoken as if I were an obstacle. Something to be managed. As days passed, more small slights accumulated. In family group chats, I wasn't technically removed, but my comments were ignored. My cousin Michael asked about airport rides. My aunt offered flower help. Ashley shared a blurred photo of her dress. I politely commented, "Looks great. Hope the day goes well." Nothing. Not even a like. Then, Mom posted a rare Facebook status usually reserved for snooping or recipe videos declaring, "So proud of my beautiful daughter. Can't wait to see her walk down the aisle. You deserve everything, sweetheart." People come into this world shining, and Ashley's always been one of them. This hurt more than expected. Not for what she said, but for what she omitted. I wasn't in the attached photo collage. Even though one picture was from a Florida vacation I'd paid half the bill for after Ashley forgot her wallet. The original photo had me standing right next to Dad, but now I was literally cropped out. I didn't comment or confront them. I just saved the post to a folder called Reminders. Then came the bridal shower at a downtown tea room. I wasn't invited, which I expected, but I hoped I wouldn't be mentioned or mocked. I was wrong. Later. That night, my friend Isla, who worked part-time at the tea room and covered the event, sent me a voice memo. "Jacob," she chuckled softly, "you are not going to believe what your sister said today." I braced myself. Isla continued, explaining how Ashley, while opening gifts, received a digital photo frame. Ashley joked, "Guess I'll have to filter out the family weirdos before I upload anything." Then she explicitly stated, "Honestly, I'm glad Jacob's not coming. He has that awkward energy, like he's always judging everyone." After a pause, Isla added, "And your mom?" She laughed and said, "Well, he's always been a little jealous of Ashley. It's not his fault. He just never found his thing." That line stung the most. I had found my thing. I'd worked tirelessly to build my life independently. Now, no one handed me a down payment or covered my rent. I learned coding from YouTube and launched my business from a beat-up laptop in a studio apartment with water stains, yet they still saw me as nothing worse, as a joke. The final push came a week before the wedding. Ethan texted me out of the blue. "Hey man, haven't seen you in a while. Want to catch up?" I was surprised, assuming he'd simply been avoiding conflict. We met, and he looked emotionally drained, as if constantly walking on eggshells. "You okay?" I asked. He stirred his coffee, eyes fixed on his phone. "Not really," he admitted. "I didn't know how messy things had gotten with your family. Ashley told me you didn't want to come, that you'd be a distraction." I laughed, a short, bitter sound. "A distraction from what? Her delusions?" He didn't reply, just looked at me with what seemed like guilt. "I'm just saying," he mumbled, "you didn't deserve that." The silence stretched. I watched him. "Then why are you marrying her?" Asked. He looked startled. "I mean," I added, "you're not stupid. You can't tell me you haven't seen it." Ethan exhaled slowly. "Because I love her. And I guess I thought marrying her would make the rest easier." It was a naive statement that almost evoked pity, but I didn't press. He looked like a man trying to convince himself he'd made the right choice. As we stood to leave, he hesitated, then pulled an envelope from his jacket. "Ashley said not to give you one," he said, handing it to me. "But I figured you should have it anyway." It was the official wedding invitation heavy cardstock, gold trim, embossed lettering. I took it but didn't thank him. Back home, I didn't open it. I simply added it to my reminders folder. At this point, the idea that had been simmering in my mind was no longer just an idea. It was a concrete plan, and I was ready to act. They wanted a perfect day, and they ensured I wasn't part of it. Fine. But they overlooked one crucial detail: the dream venue Ashley had booked, the one she raved about and cried over when the reservation was confirmed. She didn't own it yet, but I knew the owner, and I'd just wired the deposit. Didn't cancel the reservation immediately. That would be too simple, too obvious. I needed her to feel completely secure, as if her world was perfectly aligned. So I let the countdown begin. I watched her glide through the final stages of her fairy tale plans. Believing everything was set, dress fitted, florist secured, caterer booked, I silently observed her daily Instagram countdowns. 10 days to go until I become Mrs. Ethan Lane, with heart emojis and a ring photo. 7 days. Dream venue, dream dress, dream life. Every caption felt directed at me. Not just because I was excluded, I was numb to that, but because of the triumphant tone. This wedding wasn't just a celebration. It was a victory lap over me. The awkward energy, the jealous brother, the background character and her flawless narrative. Texts started coming in from distant relatives, some polite, asking about my attendance or needing rides. Others, passive-aggressive. One cousin wrote, "So sorry about the misunderstanding. Hopefully you and Ashley can make peace for the big day." Misunderstanding, the word made me want to laugh. It's astonishing how people who weren't present for a single conversation suddenly felt qualified to mediate. But the real breaking point came 3 days before the wedding. My dad called, which was rare. He was usually quiet, avoiding conflict. This time his voice was sharp, clipped. "Jacob," he said, "your mother told me you're still holding a grudge?" I blinked. "Excuse me, this is your sister's wedding," he continued. "Family supports each other." I genuinely laughed, confused. Like how Mom supported Ashley by asking me not to come? Or how Ashley said I'd ruin the photos? Paused briefly. Ashley's under a lot of stress. She didn't mean it like that. There it was. The familiar excuse, as if words only mattered when convenient. "I'm not coming," I stated flatly. "You're being petty." That hit harder than expected, not because it was harsh, but because it came from him, the one person who typically remained neutral. Now, his only intervention was to tell me to fall in line, to shut up and play my part. "You know what's funny?" I said quietly. "You've barely spoken to me all year, but now that I might mess up Ashley's big moment, I'm worth a phone call." "Don't twist this, Jacob." I hung up. No raised voice, no thrown phone. I walked to the fridge, grabbed water, and sat in silence. My hand trembled slightly, not from anger, but a colder, sharper feeling betrayal, seeping into old, supposedly healed wounds. That night, I opened the wedding invitation Ethan had given me. I stared at the gold-trimmed card, the elegant script, the poetic line, "Together with their families." I almost laughed again. Together with their families, as if I'd ever been part of that picture. Then an email arrived from the venue. "Hi, Jacob. Just confirming the ownership transfer for the June 17th reservation. Since you've officially acquired the property, we'll move ahead under your name. Let us know if there's anything else we can assist with." Property, not just the booking, the entire venue. A few years prior, I'd helped a friend, Nate, launch his event business with a loan and a favor. When he found success, he promised to repay me, not just financially, but with a piece of his next big opportunity. That opportunity emerged as a rustic estate on the city's outskirts, a popular wedding spot known for its views and exclusive packages. Nate offered me first refusal when he wanted to sell. I hadn't planned to buy it. Real estate wasn't my usual game. but seeing Ashley's name on the client list, I quietly and cleanly purchased it. No drama, no fanfares, just paperwork, signatures, and a wire transfer. The venue was no longer rented. It was mine. 2 days before the wedding, Ethan texted, "Can we talk?" I ignored it. A day later, Ashley posted a rehearsal dinner story. Clinking champagne, laughter, her twirling in a white dress. "Tomorrow is going to be perfect," she wrote. It almost was. But as the sun set that night, everything shifted. At 9:43 p.m., Ashley texted, "Did you mess with the venue?" I hadn't heard from her directly since her "You'll ruin the photos" call. My heart remained calm. Then at 10:12 p.m., a second text came from Mom. "Tell me this is a mistake. Please." Ashley's in tears. Finally, at 10:45 p.m., Ethan called. I let it ring, then turned my phone off completely. Their dream was cracking, and this time my silence spoke volumes. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay on the edge of my bed, staring at the dim glow of my powered-off phone like a ticking bomb. The apartment was quiet, save for the fridge's hum and passing cars. There was no satisfaction, no burst of victory, just a heavy stillness. A silence that pressed against my chest, making me wonder if I was still breathing. Around 2 a.m., I walked to the kitchen, poured water, and leaned on the counter. Reflection in the dark window stared back, calm, composed, hollow. I'd expected triumph, to feel like I'd finally balanced the scales after a lifetime of being sidelined. Instead, I felt only weariness, a heavy weight, because deep down, part of me still wished anyone would understand. Not agree, not apologize, just understand why. But that wasn't going to happen. By morning, my phone was ablaze. With messages, some furious, others pleading. Mom called 4 times, leaving no voicemails, just quick hang-ups. Ashley sent a voice note. 1 minute and 22 seconds of shaky breaths and rage-fueled sobs, ending with, "You've ruined everything. I hope you're happy, Jacob. I really do." Ethan's message, unlike the others, was brief. I get it now. Not because it excused anything, but because it was the first, perhaps only sin that someone in that family finally saw beyond the facade. Still, it didn't change the outcome. The wedding was officially canceled by noon. The venue, my venue, issued a statement citing logistical conflicts. While they refunded most costs, the emotional damage was done. Photos and videos vanished from Ashley's social media. Her countdowns disappeared. Her bio changed from bride-to-be to simply broken heart. Then the texts stopped. The calls went silent. The storm had passed. But the silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was a punishment. By week's end, I was completely cut off. Mom blocked me everywhere, her way of ensuring I couldn't hurt the family further. Dad sent one last text. "You've made your choice. Hey, I hope it was worth it." No one asked why. No one sought my side. They simply shut the door and locked it. I spent the next few days in a haze. Wake, work, shower, eat bland food, pretending not to notice the oppressive quiet. My apartment, usually a refuge, felt like a quarantine zone. No visitors, no notifications. Even friends not connected to Ashley gave me space. Isla checked in. Occasionally, but my replies were brief. I didn't want to explain or defend my actions. I just wanted to leave. One night I found myself driving aimlessly, gripping the wheel too tightly. I passed my old neighborhood, our childhood home, porch, light on. I pulled over, watching. It was surreal how small it looked. The house of so many birthdays, arguments, cold dinners. Once massive, it now seemed like a snow globe. Pretty quiet, sealed off. Curtains drawn, I saw silhouettes, heard laughter. I knew who they were laughing with and who they weren't. I didn't cry or even blink. I just sat for a long time, then restarted the engine. The next morning, I called my real estate agent. "List the venue," I told her. "Sell it." She was surprised. "You only just bought it." "Exactly," I said. It served its purpose. It wasn't bitterness or regret, but clarity. My whole life, I'd tried to be included to earn a place by staying silent, calm, being the bigger person. But perhaps some tables aren't worth sitting at. So, I let go. I sold the venue. I paused my business. I booked a trip. Spain first, then maybe Portugal, somewhere warm, somewhere no one knew my name. I didn't make a grand announcement, no social media post or new chapter caption. A suitcase, left a key with my neighbor, and boarded the plane. Looking out as clouds folded like waves below, I realized, for the first time in ages, I wasn't running. I was walking away. And walking away, I understood, is sometimes the only power you have left. Spain offered the best kind of quiet, not the suffocating silence of home, but one that filled my lungs with clean, easy air. My first morning in Seville, I sat at a small cafe, sipping strong coffee, watching people pass by, oblivious to who I was or what I'd done. There was a strange comfort in being completely irrelevant. No expectations, no baggage, just a guy with a duffel bag and a developing tan. The first week I barely checked my phone. I didn't care about the fallout back home, who was gossiping, or who painted me as the villain. For once, I wasn't trying to be understood. I simply existed, and slowly I began to breathe again. The second week, I returned to work, not out of necessity, but desire. I brought my laptop to quiet rooftops and beachside patios, my fingers gliding over the keyboard with a focus I hadn't felt in years. No interruptions, no external pressures, just me and the ideas I'd loved before they became tools for self-validation. One afternoon in Barcelona, a startup client I'd been advising offered me a full-time contract, full creative control, generous compensation, to lead their entire digital growth strategy. My jaw tightened. I hadn't sought the position. That's when I realized I no longer needed validation from those who'd ignored me. I was finally being seen by people who chose to see me. I accepted. By month 2, I was living abroad, Lisbon, my new home. A vibrant city, full of color, music, and life. I rented a sunlit apartment on a quiet hill with a balcony overlooking the water. I took early morning walks past pastel buildings, greeting strangers in a language I barely understood, never once feeling out of place. Then came Ethan's email, subject line. If you still read these. I hesitated, almost deleting it, but curiosity outweighed pride. The message was brief. We called it off, not just the wedding, everything. You were right. I just didn't want to admit it. I hope you're doing well, E. I've read it 3 times. It didn't change anything, but it confirmed my suspicion. The collapse wasn't just about a canceled venue. It was deeper, crumbling from within. I didn't respond. Some things are best left unsaid. Around that time, I began writing again, not just emails or pitches, but genuine writing. I journaled. Short stories. One night, I outlined an entire book about quiet revenge, family wounds, and the strength found in walking away. Maybe I'll finish it someday, maybe not. But it felt good to tell a story where someone like me wasn't an afterthought. Flowed in faster than ever before. The startup I worked with was acquired, leading to a huge payout and an equity share for me. I hired 2 assistants and formed my own boutique agency. Clients now sought me out. I didn't pitch or beg. I simply stated, this is what I offer. Take it or leave it. Most took it. One early spring evening, Ela messaged me. We'd kept in touch with casual hellos and memes, but this message was different. Saw Ashley today. She's not doing great. Mom's been telling everyone you sabotaged the wedding for fun. Family's a mess. You okay? I stared at her text for a long time before replying, yeah, I'm okay. And I was. Because by then, I'd learned something I'd never understood growing up. Power doesn't come from being loud or proving your worth to those who've already dismissed you. It comes from knowing exactly who you are and never compromising that, no matter how much others try to diminish you. I was no longer the awkward brother, the forgotten son, or the unwanted extra in someone else's picture. I was Jacob Carter. Self-made, unbothered, and finally, truly free. But freedom came with choices. And one choice was whether to finish what I'd started. Just as I'd found my stride, a new opportunity arose, one that could flip everything again, not out of spite, but something sharper. Justice. It began with an unexpected email, not from Ethan or Isla, but from Marcus Navarro, an old college acquaintance I hadn't spoken to in almost a decade. We'd worked on a marketing project in our final year, a pitch for a fictional wedding brand. I remembered him as ambitious and sharp, always discussing connections before most of us even knew LinkedIn existed. His message started with polite small talk, but halfway through, my eyes fixated on a line that made my pulse jump. Small world, I'm actually working with your sister now. She and your mom are trying to launch a family-run bridal business. My stomach dropped. Ashley and Mom launching a bridal brand? I reread it 3 times to ensure I wasn't mistaken. It even attached a link to a mock-up website just to splash. Page with a pastel pink logo, and Ashley looking serene in front of a rented floral arch. The name, Evermore and Company. It was professional, classy, exactly their style. Trying to brand themselves as tasteful entrepreneurs, capitalizing on the wedding industry as if they hadn't just scorched the earth around them. Then, in the About Us section, a line made me nearly laugh aloud. After planning my own perfect wedding, perfect. I stared at the words, leaned back, and exhaled. So, this was their new narrative. Rewriting the past, papering over cracks, turning failure into a fairy tale for profit. Marcus's message continued. They're looking for someone to handle digital ad strategy and long-term scaling. No. You're busy, but I figured I'd float it to you anyway, if only to reconnect. Let me know if you're interested. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I opened a document and began typing client profile, budget estimate, long-term, goals, funnel optimization. It was second nature, something I could sketch out effortlessly. But this time, I added a new section at the bottom. Brand vulnerabilities. I listed their weaknesses. Vague mission statement. Untested demographic. Over-reliance on local vendors. Zero social proof. I wasn't being cruel, just thorough, observant, and strategic. Suddenly, this wasn't just about moving on. It was about leverage. Over the next few days, I discreetly monitored their new venture. I checked their domain registration, followed their Instagram, watching them accumulate a few hundred followers, mostly family and friends. Ashley's posts all adopted the same aesthetic: soft focus, filtered elegance, wide but hollow smiles. Every caption seemed to shout, "Look how well we're doing without you." But beneath the facade, I saw their true struggle, desperate to restart, attempting to polish a broken crown and pretend it was never shattered. One possessed advantages they didn't: time, distance, clarity, money, and an untarnished reputation. The following week, I built my own subtle enterprise, not a direct rival bridal business. That would be too overt. Instead, I founded a consulting firm under a different name, White Crest Digital, specializing in exclusive marketing for luxury event brands. Within 2 weeks, I secured 3 clients, one expanding into the exact market Ashley and Mom were targeting. Unlike Evermore and Company, my clients had vision, stability, and funds. I didn't contact Marcus directly again. Instead, I had a team member send a formal pitch deck to Evermore under an alias, a subtle test. 3 days later, Ashley herself replied, "Thank you for reaching out. We're currently evaluating options for long-term partnerships. We do you. Provide a list of prior campaigns and client results." She had no idea she was speaking to me. Not yet, but that was the point. I wasn't entering through the front door. I was already inside their house. While they scrambled to build on the ruins of their self-deception, but they were fine without him. I was planting seeds in the shadows, gathering information, observing their partnerships, their borrowing, their movements. I was waiting. Because true revenge isn't loud or messy. It's not about rage. It's about timing. The morning everything began to unfold, I sat on my Lisbon balcony, sipping espresso as the sun rose over the city. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful for what I'd planned. That's the beauty of well-executed revenge. No screaming, no explosions, no dramatic confrontations. It simply unravels quietly, leaving its target wondering exactly when everything slipped away. By then, White Crest Digital had secured 3 of Evermore's direct competitors' high-end local bridal service providers in the same mid-luxury tier Ashley and Mom were targeting. We'd been quietly expanding their reach, seizing the market share Evermore hoped to claim. While Ashley focused on aesthetics and Instagram likes, our clients were signing contracts, booking venues, and building reputations. For them, it was just business. For me, it was both. The real move began when I pulled strings with a new client, a bridal expo organizer with an exclusive contract for the state's largest wedding showcase. Evermore had applied for a featured booth. After a brief call with the organizer whom I'd helped secure a major partnership the week before, Evermore's application was regretfully declined due to limited space and brand overlap with existing partners. In truth, it was because they didn't meet the minimum experience threshold, a requirement I'd helped update. Ashley didn't take it well. Isla forwarded me a screenshot of a message Ashley sent to a group chat she thought I wasn't. This is actual sabotage. We are the target demographic. Some fool must have pulled strings to block us. For once, she wasn't wrong. But it didn't stop there. When you hastily build a brand on the ruins of a publicly disastrous wedding, people talk, especially vendors, and especially when payments are late. I contacted Moira, a floral designer Evermore had ghosted after the first wedding cancellation. I offered Moira a premium contract with one of my clients in exchange for some discreet information. It turned out Evermore was using unpaid styled shoot photos without licensing rights. And worse, reposting Pinterest images, implying they were their own events. I forwarded these findings to the expo organizer to confirm they'd made the right decision. It also helped that one of my clients had a direct line to a popular wedding blog. Within a week, an anonymous expose appeared online. Fake it till you break it. The rise and fall of a faux bridal brand. While not explicitly named, anyone in the local industry knew who it was about. Evermore's Instagram engagement plummeted overnight, comments were disabled, followers dropped. Their email list, barely 1,000, lost almost half its subscribers within 3 days. But I still wasn't finished. The final piece came from Marcus, the college acquaintance who'd unknowingly given me the initial tip. He reached out again, confused. Hey, it's a random thing. I pitched Evermore to a VC I know, and apparently your name came up. Do you know someone named Jake Rowland? I smiled. Jake Rowland was my alias for all white crest correspondence, not a full fake identity, but enough separation to shield my real name while causing quiet damage. I called Marcus. Listen, I said, I didn't want to involve you, but you deserve to know what they're building is a lie. I walked him through everything, the unpaid vendors, the misused media, the sabotaged expo application. I told him the truth. Evermore wasn't built on passion or purpose, but on a desperate need to erase past failures and pretend the cracks never existed. He was silent for a moment, then asked, You want me to pull out? I want you to do what's best for your reputation, I replied. He didn't hesitate. By week's end, Marcus withdrew from their project, as did another partner eyed discreetly. Contacted through a mutual connection, Mom and Ashley, oblivious to the industry's interconnectedness, had made the fatal mistake of assuming credibility based purely on their words, without investors, partnerships, or the legitimizing buzz of an expo. Evermore began to crumble. A few days later, Ashley posted a story, a black screen with a white quote, Some people will try to destroy what they can't have. I didn't reply or comment. I didn't need to. I just quietly watched as the Evermore website went offline. A week later, domain unregistered, Instagram deleted. All that remained was a digital ghost of a dream that was never truly theirs. Meanwhile, I remained on my Lisbon balcony, still sipping coffee, still building something real. I hadn't raised my voice or burned their house down, simply removed the foundation and watched it collapse on its own. It took about 3 weeks for the full fallout to settle, like ash slowly drifting from an unseen fire. I didn't hear from Ashley directly, not at first, but Ela, my unwitting informant, filled me in. According to her, Ashley and Mom had an epic public shouting match at a local cafe, overheard by half the town. Mom accused Ashley of carelessness and mismanagement, blaming everyone but herself. Ashley retaliated, claiming Mom pushed her into the business, the wedding, the entire facade. She even called Mom out for suggesting I shouldn't come to the wedding. He was never the problem. You were. Ashley reportedly screamed before storming out. It was ironic. After all their years of sticking together, their bond finally unraveled not because of me, but because they'd built everything on a lie they both pretended was true. The lie that I didn't matter, that I didn't belong, that I could be excluded and the world would keep spinning. Except now, the world had spun, just not in their favor. A week later, Ashley moved back in with Mom, her savings drained from trying to keep Evermore afloat. Ethan had vanished completely, not just blocked, but rumored to have relocated for work, cutting ties clean. The dream wedding, the dream business, the dream life all gone, replaced by mutual resentment and the quiet bitterness that festers when no one will admit they're wrong. As for Dad, he sent an email, not a call or heartfelt letter, just a short, awkward message. Hope you're well. I saw the Evermore stuff online. Your mother's been quiet, Ashley, too. You always were the smart one. Just wish I'd seen it sooner. Dad, I didn't reply. I had nothing left to say to the man who'd stood silent for decades, only finding his voice when the house was already burning. But closure doesn't always require a conversation. Sometimes it's just a line you draw in the sand, then walk away from. Back in Lisbon, I continued building my company. By year-end, we managed clients across 6 countries with a months-long waiting list. I hired a team of 9 mentored young creators and finally built the legacy I dreamed of as a kid. Sitting silently at family dinners while everyone laughed around me as if I were invisible. And one night, 6 months after it all collapsed, I received a message from Ashley. Just one line. Was it you? I stared at it for a long time, then deleted it without replying, because she already knew. And I didn't need to say anything. She could scream into the void, rewrite history, blame everyone but herself, but the truth would sit with her in the quiet. And my final word had already been delivered, not spoken. Not shouted, but built. I wasn't her ruin. I was her reminder.